Hello, my dear friends. The video that I'm about to offer to your attention, I've recorded about a year and a half ago. I promised to tell you my story, my personal story, and here it is. I am offering it to your attention. And I hope not to be judged too harshly or too strongly. Just telling you my life, the beginning of my life. I also going to show a few pictures, to share a few pictures with you, pictures of my mom and dad and my brother, our family. So with all that said, please enjoy the show, enjoy my story, and actually, of course, Don Pepas participates in that story as well. Hope you're going to, I don't know. Hope you. Here it is. Here we go. And this is my Soviet story. And the logical place to begin my story would be the city of Irkutsk. I wanted you to take a look at this city. Yes, it's a Siberian city, and that's how it looks during summertime. The heart of the city is the beautiful Angara River, and we will take another look at it a little bit later. And here, attention please, ladies and gentlemen, this is the University of Foreign Languages that I had the privilege to attend for 5 years, where I learned my English and Spanish. I love my alma mater, and here it is. I'm sharing it with you. And this is Angara River. What a beauty. You know, I keep dreaming about this river. This river runs through my heart. This is one of the most mighty Siberian rivers, and it's a very special one because it's the only river that comes out of Lake Baikal. You know, 336 rivers fall into the Lake Baikal, and only one runs out of it, and this is Angara. It's interesting. It's been already 2 years since I started this channel, and I started this channel is merely as a service channel, a service, a bridge between the English-speaking community and that wonderful, majestic cougar, Puma, who lives in Russia, Puma Messi. And I was reading lots and lots of comments in English, and I saw how much you all loved Puma Messi, loved Sasha and Masha, but you very seldom were getting any responses from Sasha and Masha because, well, they tried their best to communicate with you in English, but that's where my role came into focus, and I contacted Sasha and Masha and I offered my help in establishing this bridge between you, English speaking community, and them. And that's how the channel came about. And then, as it was evolving, I started doing translations of the streams. I taught, for a short period of time, I taught Masha some English. We were practicing English. We were writing some speeches together to address you, my dear friends. And then when the channel became as it is right now, some of you said, hey, we would like to know, we are also interested in you. You know, it never occurred to me that you might be interested in me. I am pure interlocutor between them, Sasha, Masha, Messi, and Gerda, and you. And it really pleased me very much that you are interested in me, where I'm coming from, and what is my life is all about. You know, it's really makes me humble and makes me feel very honored that you are interested in knowing what am I all about, where I'm coming from, what are my roots, and what contributed into me being who I am today and what shaped my life. Well, Let's go, let's start. And yes, I was born in the Soviet Union, the countries that no longer exist. And you asked me to tell you about my story, how I was growing up. What did it mean growing up in the Soviet Union? And of course, due to that perception on each side in those times, in the Soviet Union about the United States and the United States about the Soviet Union, it never coincided. So the countries were kind of very cautious about one toward another, and I'm trying to avoid using all those sharp words because yes, those times were kind of very those times were interesting in terms of international relations. But me, as the little kid who was born in 1965 and growing up in the Soviet Union, I honestly believe that I was born in the best country in the world. I had the best mom and dad. I had the best grandparents, and I had everything the best. I loved going to my kindergarten. I loved going to my school. I loved playing piano. I loved growing up the way how we were brought up in back in those times. So my parents, who they were, my dad. First of all, I was born in Siberia in the little in on the military base near the yes done Pepas. Yes, 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 yes. One of the biggest regrets of my life is that I never brought too many pictures of my family. Technically, I left all my life behind when I came to the United States 30 years ago. But this picture is my absolute favorite. My mom is young, my dad is young, my brother and I, we are such a loving brother and sister. What a lovely picture. And this is my mom and dad before they had my brother and myself, before they started family. I think that this is their first picture there together. This is my mom already had me, and this picture I also love. I am so little, and my mom just lovingly holding me on her lap. And the next two pictures, this is my mom, and next picture is me when I'm young and with a cat. So probably I look like my mom. We interrupt our broadcast due to the visit due to the visit from Don Pepas, and he demands attention, and he's saying, I'm going to be part of your storytelling as well. Hello, Pepachka. Hello. Hello, Bebachka моя. So where was I? Yes, I was born not far from the city of Irkutsk, and yes, we had long, cold winters, we had wonderful summers, we had beautiful springs and gorgeous autumns. All four seasons we observed. Because the moment when I'm saying Siberia, people saying, "Oh my God, you were born in Siberia. You can never be cold in California because look at you. You grew up in Siberia." And being here, it's like I don't know, it's warm all year round, and you can't be cold. Trust me, I can be cold in California, especially at night. We used to wear nice clothes. It's fur coats, fur hats, boots, and when you accordingly dressed, then there is no temperature, low temperatures really don't bother you. And winters in Siberia back then were very, very nice. I mean, they were cold, but the air was dry, and those colds were taken very, very nice and easy, because when you have high humidity, like in Moscow, because I did live in Moscow also, though the temperatures are higher, but then the humidity and wind makes it even worse. So how did I grow? What was about me growing up in back those times? What I remember, vividly recall that um, I really loved my family. It was such a loving family. I had an older brother. He was 8 years older, and he passed away a year before COVID. And so I unfortunately I didn't save many pictures. I was looking for this project. I was trying to find pictures of, yes, Pepas. I was trying to find pictures of my grandparents, and I really kind of, when I came here, I didn't expect myself staying here forever. That's why I didn't bring anything with me rather than my suitcase and everything. And then I ended up staying here. I don't know what to tell you, really. I loved growing up in Siberia. I remember my mom picking me up from the kindergarten. We didn't have any cars because the place where we lived, it you didn't need a car. Everywhere was walking distance, and though sometimes it could be a little bit far, but it was so healthy, and it was, I don't know, it was kind of, our kindergarten was in the middle of the birch forest, and that was so beautiful. During summertime, you go to the kindergarten. On the way to the kindergarten, you could pick up some wild strawberries or mushrooms or gooseberries or something. It was just so nice. And when my mom was picking me up in the kindergarten, sometimes we went to the soccer field and watched the game of the local teams playing soccer. We kind of really, I don't know, we loved sports. And my brother and I, we used to watch hockey games. And if you are the hockey fan, you probably remember that NHL and the Soviet team tournament at the end of the 70s, when Russian team, the Soviet team, flew to Canada to play that tournament. And due to the time, it was live stream, live. They were showing those games live, and my brother and I, we were setting up an alarm clock to wake up in the middle of the night to watch those games. And it was also very, very nice. And that's how I was growing up. My brother taught me how to ride a bicycle, and we were riding it together. And then, of course, my brother became a teenager very quickly, and he became ashamed of his young little sister, and he was kind of, he distanced himself from me, and saying that, that's you, and that's my friend, and you are a little girl, and I have nothing to do with you. Then we started growing apart. Though my parents, being like all the parents, my mom loved her boy, and I was my dad's daughter, and I loved going with my daddy everywhere. As I mentioned to you, that my parents, my mom was a local girl from Siberia. We lived maybe 100, we lived maybe 50 miles from the place where her family was from. But dad's parents, they lived in the southern part of Russia, in Volgograd. And when I was born, the Stalingrad was already renamed into Volgograd, so the name of Stalin no longer was mentioned, um, because I was born in 1965. Khrushchev came to power in 1953, and the 20th Congress of the party, where they denounced Stalin and removed Stalin's name from the anything that could remind the people about Stalin. So the city of Volgograd was, I mean, the city of Stalingrad was renamed into Volgograd, and I was born already as it was Volgograd. And I remember when I was visiting my grandparents in Volgograd, there were cars and the license plates in the Soviet Union of the vehicles, they they had the set of the numeric and alphanumeric uh, value, pretty much like in the United States. But they had three letters in the beginning of the license plate, and then they have four digits. And the letters, they actually the license plate letters, they start from the initial letter of the region where the car was registered. And when I came, and I was a smart girl paying attention to those things. Whenever you travel, you go to some region and you see in Irkutsk all the in Irkutsk, the the license plate started with IR, ER, those were the letters, and in Volgograd the letters were SS. The first letter was S, and I asked my dad, and I asked my grandfather and my uncle, my dad's brother, saying like, how come the city is Volgograd, but the license plate starts with S? And they said, well, it's Stalingrad actually. So, and yes, I was my daddy's daughter. My dad is a girl, and I loved traveling with my dad. I loved going somewhere, some places with my dad, and we always kind of, he was my co-conspirator. We were conspired together. I don't know. We didn't. I wouldn't say that we conspired against my mom and my brother, but sometimes we were saying like, "Oh, don't tell mom," or something like that. And since my dad was working in construction, he was a military engineer corps, and so summertime, the short period of the summer where you could really do projects and build something that was required, he never could have his vacation. But my mom's vacation was during summertime, so we went to visit my mom's side of the family, like her sisters who lived further eastward in Russia. So we were crossing Baikal. We were taking the train in Irkutsk, and we were going like further around Lake Baikal, and we were going to Chita. We were going to that area, so it was like 24-hour travel, and we were visiting my mom's sisters, and I had cousins, and it was nice vacation together. But then during winter time, when the school was also on vacation, my dad and I would travel to Volgograd to see his parents, and I had 2 vacations a year. I was very lucky. And of course, then sometimes my mom and I, we also were going to see during summertime my parental grandparents. So as I told you, that I traveled Russia all the way from this far east, or the behind the Lake Baikal, to all the way to the Volgograd area, and by train. And yes, I saw Russia from the train, all that length. And that was so wonderful. Traveling by train back then meant if you stay on a train for 5 days, you have to prepare a meal for 5 days. So because you will need to eat. Granted that the train had a restaurant, the car restaurant, one of the cars was dedicated, it was a restaurant. But as a restaurant, it was a little bit pricey, and then sometimes it was too crowded, or sometimes it just, I don't know. Well, we did go maybe once or twice out of those 5 days to eat a hot meal, but technically, what was the regular meal that you're taking with you? Normally, you boil whole chicken with you, you hard boil some eggs, you have some cucumbers, you have some salt, you have some maybe smoked sausage or salami if you have, and maybe you can have some fat, the pork fat, and something that is not going to spoil, that is going to last for quite some time. And that's how you travel. You have the hot tea is being served to you every morning and every evening, and that's how you travel, and that was so nice. I have vivid memories of those travels. It's really very, very nice. And yes, I was growing kindergarten, and then the school. My first day of school, I was 7 years old, and the following day, it was September 1st. The school year back then in Russia started September the 1st. In the Soviet Union, it was the universal day, start day of the school year. Right now, they preserve that tradition because it's a holiday, state holiday in Russia is the Knowledge Day, and September 1st, all kids go to school, and some of the former Soviet Union republics that are now independent countries, they also preserve the tradition that the school year starts September 1st. So I remember I wanted to go to school so much. I learned how to read when I was 3. I knew how to write. I couldn't wait to go to school and get my hands on to that knowledge that those school kids proudly wear on their faces, like they're school kids and you're preschool kid and you are worse than us. And now today is the August 31st and tomorrow is September 1st, and I will be the school kid also. And I remember that was my first insomnia ever. I couldn't fall asleep. I was so excited. I couldn't wait to go to school. And it was just, I was tossing and turning in my bed, trying to make this night to disappear. I wanted that morning to come because I had brand new school uniform waiting for me. And the school uniform, it's a different story. You have this brown dress made out of wool, and then you have white apron because you have a dress uniform, and for dress uniform you have your white apron, and for the everyday school day you have black apron. And that was so wonderful. And because of this school dress has to look festive, you have to have these white colors and white cuffs over here, and those things that you're taught to take care of that part of your uniform on your own ever since you're a child, because you have to wash those, if not daily but twice a week, and then you wash those and you iron them and then you sew them up to your onto your dress. and make sure that your cuffs are always white and your color is always white, and that was very, very important. So the first day at school, and I go there, and I can't wait to show everyone that I know how to read, that I know how to write. And guess what? Yes, we are opening our first book, and the teacher is asking who is there to read anything. Of course, I volunteer. And anyway, the first day, not that much of homework given to you, and I came back home with the school bag, and it's a kind of briefcase, but uh, we didn't have backpacks back then. But that was so interesting. I came home and I said, Mom, I'm going to do my homework. But I opened up the book and I was like, well, there is nothing to do. But I was eager to pretend that I'm doing my homework because I wanted to be like my older brother when he was doing his homework. So I was sitting here at my desk because I inherited that desk after my brother, and I was sitting at that desk and saying, oh my god, I'm doing my homework, my first homework. And that's how my school career began. And that was, I loved our school because back then our teachers, school teachers, those were people who really dedicated their lives to education and to children. It was a devotion, it was calling, and you didn't have people who didn't belong in school, in education. So our teacher, I still remember her, all the teachers in our school, they were professional, they loved kids, they loved their job, and kids paid the utter respect to those teachers. It's like, when we are talking about education now, and the matter of discipline always comes up, and the crowded classrooms and everything. We had about 30 kids, between 25 and 30 kids in the classroom, but the discipline was so good. The authority of the teacher was no question. Teacher knew everything. And we as kids, we looked up to our teachers, and we were thinking that they were kind of special type of people. They were not like normal people, they were above those normal people. And that made us want to be like them, to make them proud of us. And that was a huge motivational factor in wanting to learn and in wanting to know a lot. So yes, when I started my school, I was very ambitious, and it turns out that my mom also was straight A student, and my dad was a very good student, and my brother wasn't that good, but the teachers were saying that he is very, very bright kid, but his discipline wasn't that good. But I had the agenda to be like mom and to be straight A student, so my parents and my teachers would be very proud of me, because this is just the beginning. It was 10 years school, our secondary school, and we didn't have a division into the middle school, elementary school, middle school, and high school. It was just a secondary school, all 10 years. And then I knew that I will need to go to higher education to get my master's degree. And I didn't know who I wanted to be, because throughout my school years I've changed my desire, but I always knew that I would be entering the university. It's either, at first I wanted to be a doctor, then I wanted to be a lawyer, then I wanted to be an investigator. Then I wanted to be an engineer in the automotive industry, automobile industry, because I wanted to drive a car. And you can't be just a driver, you need to be an engineer. In my case, like, no, I don't want to be a driver, I want to be an engineer who is going to build those cars that you're going to drive. And finally I um and then when I was in the third grade, I wanted to start to learn, and also I wanted to play piano. I was going to music school, I was learning playing piano, and I loved that. So I was thinking that maybe I want to be a concert piano player. All those different things that I was juggling in my head, and I didn't know where to focus on. And that's why, kind of, when the time came, when I was 17 and the time came to enter the university, I was split in two. So I applied to the art college to be a piano player, and I applied to the university to be historian, and I failed in both. I took the entry exams at the art college, and they said, well, kind of, you are okay, but you don't have those concert piano player qualities, so you're going to be a good teacher of piano, but the playing on stage, probably not. And I said, well, it's all or nothing, then I'll go to the university and we'll study history. I don't know. I just also wasn't accepted into that because I just failed one of the exams. Not failed, but I didn't score high enough to pass the competition, and hence it was an academic year that I had to wait again until I could enter the university for another profession or another university. And that's where I'm going to leave my story at for today, and I will pick it up from this point next time.